Hello again, everybody. Back for the next chapter. We are reading The Rhino in Right Field. Chapter 3. That'll be 95 cents. I punched the key on the cash register and the drawer slid open with a ding. The customer handed over a dollar bill. Keep the change, he said. A little Saturday bonus. He adjusted the fedora on his head and called towards the back of the shop. Thanks again, George. Nobody can block a hat like you. In a halo of lamplight, a small, weary guy with glasses and brushy eyebrows waved a shoe and then bent over his work again. My father. The customer swept out onto the sidewalk. As the door jingled shut behind him, the odor of shoe polish collided with fresh air and bust exhaust. Nicky, called my father from his workbench. Mr. Watson's shoes, they're ready. Bring me a box, eh? Sure thing, Pop. I grabbed an empty shoebox from behind the counter, along with a sheet of blank newsprint. Say, Pop, you think I could take off a little early today? The fellas are playing ball. The fellas, they're always playing ball, answered Pop, making room on the work table. It's quiet today. I even dusted the tops of the shelves where no one can see. Good boy, said Pop, without looking up. You know the rules, Nicky. Saturday, it's a working day. We are open until 5 o'clock. But Pop, he held up a finger, which meant the discussion was over. It wasn't fair. Nobody else had a Saturday job. Well, Charlie had a weekend paper route, but he always finished by breakfast. It's not that I hated working in the shop exactly. I got decent tips, and it was better getting up when it was still dark and trudging around with a sack of newspapers swung over your shoulder. But who wants to be cooped up when it's Saturday afternoon and the sun is shining and the grass is smelling sweet? Pop inspected the pair of Oxfords he'd been working on. They weren't new shoes, but no one needed to bring new shoes to the elegant shoe repair and hat shop. This pair had new soles and new laces, and they'd been buffed to a soft sheen. I'll tell you what, Pop said, lining the shoebox with newsprint. If nobody comes in before 3 o'clock, you can go. Just this once. The clock on the wall read 2:45. It was a snowball's chance, but it was a chance. Pop nestled the shoes into the box as carefully as if they were eggs. Then he tucked the newsprint over them and fitted the lid on top. He held out the box. Right. This part was my job. I pulled a laundry marker from behind my ear and wrote J. Watson on the top of the box, and then the date, 5/8/48. I stacked the box on a shelf with the others that were waiting to be picked up. This takes place in 1948, just so everybody knows. Okay. I don't mind doing it, Pop, but why write on the box yourself? You have nice school handwriting, he said, patting my cheek like I was a little kid. I hate that. My handwriting, it looks like the immigrants. So what if you're an immigrant? Your customers don't mind, do they? Pop scribbled on the job ticket and added it to the spindle on his work table. Mind? Lots of them. They're the immigrants too, but we are all Americans now. My customers, they could go to any hat shop in town, but I want them to come to my shop. Your handwriting looks, what? Spiffy. American. He reached out to pat my cheek again, but I dodged out of the way this time. The bell jingled on the door. Customer, said Pop, pulling the next pair of shoes off the shelf. But it wasn't a customer. It was only Ace. Well, he said, did you get sprung? 3 o'clock, okay, if no one comes in. Then hurry up and lock the door. If you knew Ace like I do, you'd know he wasn't kidding. Just then, the bell jingled again. A man stood in the doorway wearing an overcoat and a hat. Too late, I told Ace. I nudged past him to greet the customer just like Pop had taught me. How can I help you, sir? Well, son, I need a pair of shoelaces. Toot sweet, said the man as he stepped into the quiet of the shop. He wasn't a regular customer. I'd never seen him before. He limped a little, as if an invisible small dog had latched onto his ankle and wouldn't let go. Sure thing, what color? I reached behind the counter and pulled out a box of assorted laces. I suppose they ought to be brown, seeing as my shoes are brown. He leaned over the counter, wiggled his eyebrows, and grinned. It was a corny thing to say, but I couldn't help smiling. I found a pair of waxed brown laces. That'll be 5 cents. The customer fished in his pocket and handed me a nickel. Nice place you got here, he said, looking around. Thanks, but the shop was nothing fancy. A long, narrow room, glass-fronted cases filled with men's hats for sale. Fedoras and Homburgs mostly, some Panamas, even a few straw boaters. Behind the cases stood tall, open shelves of dark wood stacked with boxes. Just inside the door, across from the cash register, was a shoe shine stand with 3 leather chairs on a raised platform. Right now, Ace was sprawled in one of them, digging dirt from under his fingernails. At the back of the shop, my pop was still bent over his work table. I say, son, how much? Huh? A shoe shine, said the customer. How much? Oh, 20 cents. Sign me up. Sure thing. Pop, shine. Shining shoes was another one of my jobs, but Pop liked to meet the new customers and wait on them personally. He got up from his workbench smiling. Pop always has a smile on his face, even when he's sleeping. I've checked. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon, said Pop, motioning towards the shoe shine chairs with one hand and shooing Ace off with the other. The customer dropped his coat and hat on Ace's chair and settled into the middle one. Ace tugged at my elbow and tilted his head towards the door. The fellas are waiting, he hissed. I shook my head, but he yanked on my arm again, so I tried one more time. Hey, Pop, you don't suppose... But Pop was already deep in the conversation and shoe polish. I wasn't going anywhere, as usual. Chapter 4. Seems like a nice town, said the customer. He planted his feet on the brass footrest and extended a hand. The name's Joe Daggett. Nice to meet you, Mr. Daggett, said Pop. I'm George Spiricus. I'm George Spiricus, and this is my son, Nick. I stepped forward to shake Mr. Daggett's hand, and that's when I noticed he was wearing only one sock, and that the ankle without a sock was made of wood. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be impolite. You can call me Ace, said Ace, pushing his way into the group. Then he said, Holy cow, a wooden leg! Pop and I both glared at him, but Mr. Daggett said, It's all right. I don't mind. Take a look, fellas. He hitched up his trouser leg just below the knee. The wooden part had leather straps that disappeared into his pant leg. You were in the war, said Pop. It was an easy guess. Lots of fellas had been in the war. Mr. Daggett nodded. Gunnery private in the Pacific. Not too good at it, though. Shot myself in the foot. Pop shook his shoe shine brush at him. You joke, but you should be proud. You are a hero. Oh, I'm a lucky guy. I know that. Every pair of Argyles lasts twice as long, for one thing. He grinned and wiggled his eyebrows, and I relaxed. So, Mr. Daggett, said Pop, you are in town on business? That's right, said Joe Daggett, rolling down his trouser leg. I'm in sales, you might say, joining a little enterprise over at 8th and Chalmers. 8th and Chalmers, repeated Pop. That's near the ballpark, eh? Spittin' distance, said Joe Daggett. Looking forward to taking a game or two when I have the chance. You Mud Puppies fans, George? Everybody likes baseball, said Pop, dipping a stiff brush into a tin of shoe polish. My wife and I used to go, but Orchard Field is falling down. No place for a lady anymore. I read in the newspaper that the team is for sale. going to fold up their tent stakes and leave town. Pops never could get the hang of the American slang. For sale? Said Joe Daggett. Is that right? He turned to me and Ace. How about you fellas? Do you follow the pups? Not really, I said. I hated to disappoint him because he seemed really excited about seeing some baseball. But the Mud Puppies had finished in the cellar of the Great Lakes League the last 3 seasons, and so far this year, they weren't looking any better. The pups, they stink, said Ace. Not a single one of them is any good to be a bat boy, much less a ball player. Heck, even Nick here is better in right fielder than, what's his name? Eddie something, I said. Eddie Mulligan, said Joe Daggett, scratching his knees. You fellas are pretty good ball players, are ya? I said, sort of. Ace said, you bet we are. Wish you could show those Mud Puppies a thing or two about how it's done, I suppose. Darn tootin', said Ace. Plenty of kids would love the chance to put the Mud Puppies' uniform on. Ain't that right, Nick? He slapped me on the back. All I said was, ow. You never know, said Joe Daggett. Maybe one of these days you'll get your wish. He turned to Pop. Say, George, tell me a bit about yourself. What kind of name is Sparakis anyways? Greek, said Pop, sitting up straighter. I was born there. How long have you lived in the States? Ace pulled the shop door open. This is where I go play ball. See you later, Nick. And he was gone, out to the sunshine. See ya, I grumbled. Pop paid no attention. I came to America when I was 12 years old, same age my Nico is right now. Pop beamed at me over his shoulder as if I were the smartest kid in the world for figuring out how to turn 12. And for the rest of your family? Said Joe Daggett. Either he was very polite or he was a really good salesman. My father, he sailed here first, and then he sent for me and my mother. My brother was born here. My father worked hard so he could buy this shop. He taught me the business, and now the shop is mine. How about your little brother? Said Joe Daggett, looking around. Is he part of the family business? Spyro? Said Pop, and for the first time his smile faded. He's too busy having the fun, out all night, sleeps all day. My son will be different. Nicky's a good boy. He works hard too, and one day, Pops spread his arm wide. This shop will belong to him. I shifted on my feet and smiled weakly at Joe Daggett. Joe Daggett gave me a quick wink and changed the subject. We all come from someplace else. Ain't that the truth? My own folks are German and Irish, which makes me Germish, I suppose. And what's wrong with that? Said Joe Daggett. Not a thing. No, sir, not a thing, echoed Pop, as he buffed Joe Daggett's shoes to a high shine. I'm proud to be Greek. You are proud to be Germish, and we are all proud to be American. He snapped his buffing cloth with a flourish. Finished. Looks swell, George, said Joe Daggett, inspecting his shoes. He stepped down from the chair and gathered his coat and hat. I'm glad I stopped in. What did you say this sleigh off a hand will set me back? Pop blinked up at Mr. Daggett, smiling and frowning at the same time. 20 cents, I said. That's right, said Pop, relaxing and resting his hand on my shoulder. Very nice to meet you, Mr. Daggett. I wish you luck in your business. Why, thanks, George, said Joe Daggett, handing Pop 2 dimes and a business card. Next time you're near 8th and Chalmers, look me up. My door is always open. Then he searched his coat pocket. Here you go, Nick. Compliments of the Mud Puppies. He plopped a brand new baseball into my hand and limped out of the shop to jingle the bells. How about that, said Pop, showing me the card. The Mud Puppies are not for sale anymore. My mouth fell wide open as I read the card. Jeepers! We just met the new owner of the Mud Puppies. Neat. All right, so we have a new character, the new owner of the Mud Puppies. Yeah, I wonder if we'll see more of him in the story. All right, we'll catch you next time.